Good morning and welcome to the second day of the Sustainable Cleveland Summit. Thank you for joining us virtually, everyone.
Welcome back.
I'd like to, of course, thank the Cleveland Public Library. My name is Selena Selden, and I'm the Outreach Education Leader for the Office of Sustainability, and you have joined the Sustainability session with Sessions and Seniors. It Never Gets Old. We ask that you remain muted throughout the session, and please use the chat box at the top right of your screen for your questions and comments. Please also check the chat box for resources to be shared during the session. And finally, please note that this session is being recorded. I will serve as your moderator, and you can definitely list all of your questions and comments, and we can get started.
Sure. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Natoya Walker-Minor, and I serve as the Chief of Public Affairs for the City of Cleveland. And I've had the good fortune of having the Department of Aging in my cluster for the entire 15 years that I've been with the City of Cleveland. Did you know that every day, 10,000 people turn 65 years old? That means people are living longer, that we have longevity. And so we are here to talk about today the impact to cities, states, and communities on how we reshape industries, how we reshape our communities, how we make sure that we're available to service those that are 65 and older. Even myself, as I'm looking 65 in the face in the next 10 years, I'm so glad that the City of Cleveland has taken this approach through our Department of Aging. By 2030, the U.S. Census Bureau predicts that 1 in 5 Americans will be 65 years old. That's in 10 years. That is me. And so what we need to continue to do is look at what programming we have, what structures and systems and policies and procedures we have in place so that we can make sure that we're servicing people. Why is that? The reason is because by that time, people 65 years old and older will outnumber those 18 years and younger. The growth is particularly pronounced in Maine, Florida, Montana, and New Mexico, where 25% or more of the population will be 65 years or older. Now, we know, just practically, those are states where people who are retired begin to relocate. Next slide, please. Can someone see that? I don't know what slide we're on. So what does that mean? How does that affect me? As we grow older, it becomes increasingly important to consider age-friendly. What is an age-friendly city? What do we need to do to accommodate boomers and millennials? How do we make sure there's equity in that? Boomers, millennials, and everyone in between. We need cities that have an affinity for diversity of not only race, but gender and age. We need to service them with our street lights and our crosswalks and income and workforce and a robust public transportation system. So ask yourself these questions. Is public transportation accessible in my city? Are there parks and walking paths for exercise? How easy is it to make and maintain friendships? Is medical care convenient? Is there affordable housing? What types and kinds of health and community support is available? Are there employment opportunities for older adults? These are all questions that led us to becoming an age-friendly city. We needed to become an age-friendly city because that prediction of age is here. It's real. It's right here where we are. So I see in the chat box that they can't see the slide. The slides aren't visible. It's not clear, Felina. I don't know if you can hear me, but the slide is choppy. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry. We're working on it. Sorry for the technical difficulties on our end. It's over.
Okay, but the slides will be made available. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So now I am on actually slide 5, where we're talking about Ohio's population is aging rapidly. And what the slide shows, it shows it disaggregates by age what we anticipate as what the 65 and older will be by 2030, 10 years from now, and 2040, 20 years from now. On slide 6, Ohio is an aging state, but each county has its own story to tell. And so as we continue to be an age-friendly city, robustly looking at transportation, employment, health, and connectivity, those are the things that make us an age-friendly city. And how does that link back to sustainability? It's the sustainability for our citizens that live here. So Meredith will talk about examples, but a shining example that the team in Department of Aging put on this summer was our walks. And so what the walks did was it got us out to the parks in the city of Cleveland. It introduced neighbors who didn't even know one another and those that live across the city so that they could have some connectivity. They could build bonds, they could build friendships, but they can walk, whether they're walking physically in a wheelchair, with a cane, and the bonding that takes place through the natural elements of our parks and the safety of our parks, walking towards their health, walking in communities that are sustainable and that are here. Ohio is the 7th most populous state, but its population is projected to grow by less than 1% over the next 30 years. We want to keep older Ohioans here in Cleveland. We want to do that, and we need to make sure that we have the resources, employment, transportation, parks, recreation, connectivity, equity, so that people feel safe and they age gracefully in their homes. The World Health Organization indicates that making cities and rural communities age-friendly is effective local policy. I'll tell you, I think that that is equity and equitable local policy, because it's looking at who populates our cities, who populates our rural communities, and thinking about policy and implications from policy on that age population. The physical and social environments are key. They're key to the social determinants of health. And the social determinants of health are tied right back to those very things that I talked about in the beginning: health, transportation, employment, environment, all of those things that contribute to a healthy lifestyle. And that is its direct link to sustainability. The World Health Organization has identified 8 domains of livability: housing, transportation, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, community and health services, outdoor spaces and buildings. All those things that make us, that get back to the humanity of our communities. And that's what this is about, because we live in a society where touch and connectivity is critical to how we live and the quality of our lives. I'm on slide 11, where Dr. John Beard of the World Health Organization stated, and I quote, "It takes the whole community working together to make environments age-friendly, harnessing innovation and imagination from all sectors and all actors. Initiatives must partner within communities, but we must also learn and lean across communities. A global network of cities and communities can help to catalyze progress by providing the inspiration and support that can inspire change and motivate action for creativity." We're talking about innovation to make sure that we have equity and reach and lean in for everyone in our communities across the domain of age. We want to make sure that the quality of life for all is present, and we do that through local policies at the local government level. Age-friendly, that approach is in 1,000 communities in 41 countries examining age-friendly policies. It's a commitment that we have to make, and it's one that AARP, through their network of age-friendly communities over the last 8 years, since 2012, has really talked about. You can learn more about that on the Age-Friendly website. I'm on slide 14. We're the Age-Friendly Initiative here in Cleveland, where we talk about that. So we went through 2 years of planning where we engaged the stakeholders. We didn't just make plans for seniors, we didn't make plans for older adults, but we engaged them in the dialogue to talk about what they saw as their needs and how that met with what we were doing. So we involved them. We assessed the age-friendliness of our city, where we needed to make amendments. We identified indicators. From there, over the last 3 years, we've moved into the implementation mode, implementing an action plan where we monitor those indicators. But more than that, we engage those that had not been at our tables to really talk about what we're doing. So we engage the Ohio Means Jobs, for example. We engage city planning, for example. We engage the Regional Transit Authority so that we can talk about those things that are critical to life and quality of life for seniors. And we have been in the constant process of evaluating our progress and making amendments where we need to. So we've been at this over the last 6 years, from 2014 through 2020, and we've made those amendments. We've made new friends, and we're doing some phenomenal things. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Meredith on slide 16 to really go into what some of our strategies have been, what some of the exciting new partnerships have been, and where we have made tremendous strides with this. Meredith.
Hello, everybody. So yes, thank you. So yes, we are on slide 16. So these are some examples of the Cleveland strategy. We have the Mature Worker Campaign, Age-Friendly Business Certification, Virtual Senior Center, Falls Prevention Campaign, Age-Friendly Checklist and City Planning, and Snow Removal Coordination. Next slide. So there are 14 communities in Ohio that are age-friendly. The most recent one is Yellow Springs. So on the screen, you'll see some examples of what the of where the communities are here in the state of Ohio. Next slide, please. And as Chief Natoya Walker had already pointed out, these are the 8 domains of livability pointed out by the World Health Organization. So the few that we're going to highlight today are housing, transportation, and outdoor spaces and buildings. Next slide, please. So something to get you guys thinking this morning. So I want you to think about your own home, and is your home age friendly? So if you want to take out a pen and paper and just track down your score, we're going to do there'll be a total of 18 questions, and we're going to determine how age friendly your home and your neighborhood are. So the first question is, do you have a no step entrance into your home? Give yourself a 1 if yes, and give yourself a 0 if no. Do you have any motion sensor lights inside or outside of your home? Again, give yourself a 1 for yes and a 0 for no. And number 3, do you have any grab bars in your bathroom? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Okay, next slide. Does your main outside door have a bench or surface area to place bags or other items that might be in your hands? Again, 1 for yes, 0 for no. Next question. Do you have a rocker style push switch for lighting in your home? Those are the flat ones that you can, lean against your wall and not have to worry about something sticking you in your back. 1 for yes, 0 for no. And the last question regarding your home, do you have an automatic garage door opener? 1 for yes and 0 for no. Okay, so we'll count those up at the very end. Like I said, there'll be 18 of those. So next slide. So housing options to allow for aging in place. So here are some examples that have been provided, by the Community Housing Solutions. They're our partner when it comes to making sure we're doing good housing. So housing is a basic need for all people, and this domain is concerned with ensuring that older adults have access to housing that provides an affordable and safe place to continue to grow old. And the before and after pictures on the next few slides, like I said, are provided by Community Housing Solutions, who is a key partner in helping Cleveland seniors age in place. Older people have diverse housing preferences and needs, and an age-friendly city should have a spectrum of housing options, including single-family homes, senior apartments or housing complexes, condominiums, and others, available to meet the needs of older adults. Services and supports can help older adults age in place if they wish to do so. There are a variety of ways to make housing more affordable for older adults. In Ohio, low-income homeowners ages 65 and older who meet income criteria are eligible to receive the homestead exemption, which exempts them from paying property taxes on $25,000 of the market value of their home. For low-income older adults, there are options for public assistance with housing. According to the Cleveland City Planning Commission, the oldest housing in the city is found in the neighborhoods immediately adjacent to downtown. Next slide, please. So these are some assessment highlights for housing. We had a survey completed with older adults here in Cleveland when we were getting our age-friendly plan together, and these were some important highlights that helped us come up with our assessment. Next slide. So this is more part of our age-friendly home improvement investment program. In the city of Cleveland, the median year of construction for housing is 1920, according to the Cuyahoga County Auditor. Many of those houses needed costly repairs and maintenance, not to mention improvements such as creating bedrooms and bathrooms on the first floor to make aging in place possible. In order for adults to be able to age in place, it is very clear through the assessment process that we needed to increase access to home repair programs that provided grants and low interest loans. One new program that grew out of the Age-Friendly Cleveland Plan was the Age-Friendly Home Investment Program. To date, more than 200 home repair jobs have been completed, with the average cost being $10,100. This program provides a grant to income-eligible owner-occupied homeowners. 3 of the most frequent jobs are roofs, porches, and plumbing. Next slide. So these are some more highlights of how of aging in place. So if you can see here that the steps were repaired as well as the porches. So this is a perfect intersection of fall prevention, aging in place, and safety. Next slide. So again, back to that pen and paper. So now we're going to talk about your neighborhood park and areas. So is there good lighting in the park? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Is there a public restroom that is open year-round and fully accessible? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Is pavement well-maintained and free of obstructions? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Next slide. Okay. Is there seating and benches with armrests and backs? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Are there shade trees along parts of the walking path? 1 for yes, 0 for no. And finally, is pavement wide enough for wheelchairs, and does it have dropped curbs to road level? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so data collected through the Cleveland survey suggests varied experiences with outdoor buildings and spaces among older adults in Cleveland. So we collected this input from older adults back in 2016. And this data, we were able to use it to help shape some of our strategies in the AgeFriendly Cleveland report. 60% report that sidewalks are in good condition where they live. 48% identify that they are not within walking distance to a well-maintained and safe park, but 44% do have access to this. Throughout community conversations, parks were identified as a definite strength here in Cleveland for older adult residents. According to the AgeFriendly Cleveland survey, 33% of older adults report that they, their spouse, or their partner have issues with mobility, whether it be including difficulty with walking or not walking at all. And data collected from U.S. Census Bureau indicate that 47% of older adults in Cleveland have some sort of disability. Next slide. So outdoor spaces and buildings. The overall environment, including the quality of indoor and outdoor settings, plays a role in determining quality of life for all residents, and this is certainly true for older adults. Clean and accessible outdoor areas are readily available in age-friendly cities. So Cleveland has more than 150 parks. Access to parks provides older adults with important opportunities for exercising and socializing. Age-friendly cities are pedestrian-friendly cities. A survey published in 2007 by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation found that having a park within walking distance increased the likelihood that an older adult would use it. And according to WalkScore, an organization that rates the walkability of cities, Cleveland scored a walk score of 60 out of 100. Next slide. So as Chief Natoya Walker talked about, we completed 21 summer senior walks this year. So we initially started off with, we were going to do 17, one walk per ward, and then it grew to 20, and then we wound up with 21 because the need was just so great. And other senior buildings were reaching out to us, as well as other rec centers that seniors just wanted to get together and walk. Everybody was required to wear a mask. We had hand sanitizer on site, and we adhered to social distancing guidelines. We did, like I mentioned, we did 21 summer senior walks through 20 parks and public spaces in all of our 17 wards. We had a total of 647 walkers. When we were looking to identify parks, we looked for flat pathways with benches, shaded trees, access to bathrooms, and accessible parking. And safety, this was important, as Chief Natoya Walker mentioned, because somebody was able to find a walking buddy. So, you know, we were able to get communities together. We were able to find out that people didn't know that they lived in the same neighborhood, and everybody got access to a bright orange 2020 Cleveland Senior Walk t-shirt. And so our motto was be bright, be seen, and be heard. Next slide. So for the last 6 questions on our on your pen and paper, these are all going to be related to transportation. So is public transportation in your community age-friendly? Are there a range of types of transportation available in your community for those who do not drive? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Is it affordable? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Is it reliable and frequent? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Next slide. Is it safe? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Is it comfortable? 1 for yes, 0 for no. And finally, if you needed a wheelchair accessible vehicle, would you know who to call? 1 for yes, 0 for no. So if you wish, you may enter your score into the chat and we can review those at the end of our session. Next slide. So let's talk about safe and affordable transportation. Access to transportation is a necessity to aging in place. The ability to get around can have a considerable impact on physical and social emotional well-being. Contrary to popular belief, older adults are often safer drivers than the general public, since they are likely to obey speed laws and take additional caution when driving. 68% drive themselves to appointments, errands, events, or community locations. Next slide. So how do Cleveland older adults get where they need to go? Driving themselves, driven by family and friends, walk, taking public bus or train, or using a senior transportation service. Next slide. Okay, so here are some other modes of transportation. The Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority is responsible for providing public transportation services in the city. Funding for the operation comes in large part from a 1% sales tax. According to RTA, one-way fares for bus or rapid transit are $2.25 for a one-way trip for the general public. The reduced fare for seniors or individuals with disabilities is $1 per one-way trip. All-day passes and monthly passes can be purchased by seniors. Paratransit. Paratransit services are required to be provided by law. In Cleveland, paratransit is the responsibility of RTA, and a large portion of paratransit riders are older adults. RTA organizes approximately 800,000 paratransit rides per year, which increases each year as the aging population grows and other programs face cuts. In addition to public transportation and paratransit, other subsidized ride services are available for older adults. Senior Transportation Connection is the largest of these providers serving Cleveland. And another couple options are dial-a-ride services, taxis, and ride-sharing services. So a typical short taxi ride in the city of Cleveland averages about $16. Ride-sharing services are working to respond to the transportation needs of the growing senior transportation. Potential difficulties for older adults in using rideshare services such as Uber or Lyft are challenging with navigating technology. Many may not use smartphones or devices. And there's also an issue with wheelchair accessibility for vehicles. Family or friends or family member is also an option. Family and friends are frequently a source of transportation for older adults. According to the National Alliance for Caregiving, 83% of caregivers provide transportation to those they help. These rides are not always offered free of charge, and some older adults report compensating family and friends for rides at rates that would exceed the use of a taxi. And lastly, walking. Many adults walk frequently, both as a means of transportation and as a way to get exercise. Sidewalks can pose a risk if uneven or not wheelchair accessible. Extended walk times at crosswalks, countdowns, and audible signals can be helpful to older adults. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report that older adults are the most at-risk age group for pedestrian deaths. People over the age of 65 made up for 20% of all pedestrian deaths in 2012. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to see if, Brittany, are you able to see if this link works? If not, I can always provide it in the chat as well.
As we're waiting, that this slide, and I hope this does work. This was our first opportunity to partner with Bike Cleveland. And the joy, if you could see this, and you will see it when you see the slide, the joy on the faces of the seniors to be able to be comfortable in a comfortable mode of a bicycle was just wonderful to see.
Okay, as Chief Natoya Walker mentioned, I did post the video in the chat. If we're not able to get it up, you can absolutely watch it after our session or on your own time. But this was our chance to partner with Bike Cleveland, and the city of Cleveland offered introductory sessions to introduce safety planning, modern bike equipment, and rules of the road to seniors. Okay, next slide.
So, I hope that this has been really helpful for everyone that's here, and we are glad. Let me just also thank the planners for including the Department of Aging for the first time at the Sustainability City. It is certainly a demonstration of recognizing internal equity by recognizing the work that is occurring, the dynamic work in the Department of Aging. And so we're grateful to be here to share what we've been doing over the last 6 years as we have been striving to make Cleveland a much more age-friendly city. As we indicated, it touches the social determinants of health. It has allowed us to create new partnerships with Ohio Means Jobs, looking for employment, holding actual job fairs specific to seniors. Our partnership with Bike Cleveland, please take a few moments to look at that link. The joy on the faces of the seniors on that day, it makes all the stress of the work worthwhile when you see the joy and really just demonstrating for our seniors that aging gracefully does not mean that you're trapped to only a two-wheel bike. There are all types of bicycles that are out there so that you can get your exercise. Taking advantage of our parks. As Meredith indicated, we had 21 senior walks this year. Not only were they good for socialization and connectivity and really getting out into the environment, but really taking advantage of a few assets that are in our city. This is important to our mayor, and that is why he has fully supported the Department of Aging. Our Cleveland City Council has been a partner with us as we have supported the senior transportation connection so that we can make sure that people have mobility and are trapped in their homes. And this is the work that we've been doing to make sure that we have an age-friendly city. Meredith, you were wonderful. To all that are here, thank you for coming. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend about Age-Friendly Cleveland and the things that we're doing. One point that I really want to stress at this point, we talked about, Meredith mentioned falls prevention. And I put in the chat what falls prevention means is that we want to make sure that the pathways in your home are clear so that no one falls. It is prevention from falls. And that is critically important because we know that typically if someone over 65 falls and you break a hip or do something really terrible to your knee, it's harder for that to heal. So we want to be preventive, and that's what falls prevention is all about. But as we're in the midst of this beautiful autumn season, I want to remind everybody to change those batteries in those fire alarms. Make sure that those batteries are working. I saw that Councilman put the phone number in there. Contact our fire department or any other place that helps you with that. We want to make sure that the homes are safe. The investment from the senior investment program, we're putting those porches out there, those steps, so that people can live and age gracefully in their homes. And why is that? Going back to the beginning of this session, by 2030, those age 65 and over will outnumber those 65 and younger. So we're glad to be here. This is what we're doing in Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I would like to especially thank Natoya and Meredith. Your presentations were absolutely amazing, and your information was definitely something that we can all benefit from. I don't think it's too soon to ever think about getting old and too soon to ever think about how to age in place. So that's wonderful to hear about. We also would like to know if the audience has any questions. Feel free to type them in the chat box and we will go over them. I am scrolling through right now. Natoya's done a really great job of answering most of the things that have popped up. Councilman Bractelli's also added a tremendous amount of value and information. And does anyone have any additional questions?
One question that I see from Sarah O'Keefe is, were any rides planned in 2020? And unfortunately, because of COVID, we did not plan any of our senior bike rides this year. We missed that sorely because it was a success last year. We advocated hard for those walks. And when I tell you the excitement, the energy, the socialization was high. Meredith and Mary and the team, I went out there to several of them. We had to add 5 additional. We had about 10 people that went to every single senior walk because that socialization and getting out of the house in a safe way meant so much to them. Meredith, please chime in more on that.
So yeah, so with regards to the summer walks and socialization, one of my favorite stories was we were at Zelma George Rec Center, and I was able to actually walk with a 94-year-old senior. And she said she has a treadmill in her basement, but just, walking by herself in her basement wasn't the same. She needed to see people, even if it was socially distant. So having these summer senior walks, we're able to get seniors out of their home, get them walking, and just, the looks on their faces when they just got to at least see other people was something that we will not forget. So like Chief Natoya Walker said, we did not have anything planned for 2020 as far as the silver spokes go, just because, it's really hard to socially distant when you are assisting seniors getting on the bikes and making sure that they're safely on the bikes. So anything in regards to 2021, just like everything and everyone else, we're just kind of waiting to see where the pandemic goes. And we hope that we can get, more seniors out in 2021, but we just want to keep everybody safe first.
I have a question here. It is, well, aside from the homestead exemption program, what other programs can seniors benefit from that helps them to afford to stay in their homes?
Meredith, can you just talk a little bit more about the senior home investment program?
Yeah.
Second year.
Yeah, so we have the AgeFriendly Home Investment Program that is through our city, and we strive to have 7 homes in each ward. So we have applications, we're getting calls about those. So that's one of the biggest assets to the city of Cleveland senior residents have. So we also have other programs. We have a SHAP program that is a little bit more income driven, and there's a lot more guidelines on that one. So the age-friendly home investment, we highly recommend that people call our office and learn more about that program.
What age do you recommend people begin thinking about aging in place, quality of life, and starting perhaps a savings or retirement fund?
Well, I'll jump in, and I'm certainly not an expert, but just last night I had a conversation with my husband and our life insurance agent, and I actually think we're late. I think people should start that early. The challenge is young people don't think about life insurance or anything like that. But starting earlier is better. But that said, it's never too late to start planning. So start planning for that now. Contact an agent. Look at what your retirements are. If you're still working like I am, if you change a job, don't pull out the cash. Don't draw down on it. Let it sit there, make those investments so that you can plan for your future.
Thank you. And one other question is, what are some things seniors can do right now to remain active during the pandemic to ensure they stay healthy?
So, as everybody knows that the rec centers are now open. Most of them are now open here in the city of Cleveland, and there are actually designated senior hours at some of the rec centers. So we recommend contacting the rec centers for those senior hours. And it's the tracks are open. You know, I've had conversations with a few of our summer walkers about how to stay active, because our last walk was on the first day of fall, which highlighted fall's National Falls Prevention Day on the first day of fall. So, you know, we've been really fortunate so far with this fall that, you know, you can still get outside and you can still walk in your neighborhood, but I would highly recommend contacting the rec center, because they've done an excellent job, and they're requiring the masks, and I know they have hand sanitizers. We work really well and a lot with the rec centers. So getting those senior hours, I think, was really important. So I would just encourage seniors to reach out to their local rec centers, or even contact our office. You know, we have access to those hours, or anybody, and we can help seniors get connected to local rec centers so they can stay active, even if it's just walking on the track, or if they want to use the weight room. Those resources are available to them still.
One of the things we haven't talked about are our seniors who are handicapable. What resources do you have for people who are suffering from arthritis or other debilitating diseases or impairments that help them not only age in place, but also develop a rapport with the people around them to get more support?
So I'll jump in, and then Meredith, if you could talk about our partnership with the food bank. But one of the things that was said yesterday that was so profound to me from the keynote speaker is the lack of equity when it comes to these food deserts and the access to grocery stores. And that's where our partnership with the Senior Transportation Connection can get our seniors to some of the healthier grocery stores for healthier food options. Also through the city of Cleveland, and I don't have these numbers, but I do know that we have a number of community gardens, access to those community gardens, so that you're eating healthier, making the healthier choices, because so many of those chronic illnesses, those health disparities are tied to diet. And we have to improve our eating and our selection of what we eat for healthy eating habits. You know, there used to be a program called Healthy Eating, Active Living. And while I don't think that program is in existence anymore, I think that program, the message of that program, is still incredibly profound. Healthy eating, active living. That's what we have to do. So we have to make the healthier choice we want to eat. And we have to keep our bodies moving. And those things are what helps us improve with all of the health disparities, so we can improve our overall health quality and our quality of life.
Thank you. And this past, we have a partnership with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, and we were thankfully still able to continue it this summer, even through the pandemic, that we are able to have a food pantry here at the department. And then we also provide produce to Cleveland seniors. So in previous years, seniors could come to Sterling Rec Center and they would pick produce and be able to take it home with them. And then we worked with the Cleveland Food Bank to kind of reimagine what that looks like. So the produce actually came in pre-box packages, dropped off to Sterling Rec Center. And we worked with community development, and community development had excellent volunteers that we could not have done this without them. And they would take the produce and they would drop it off at the seniors' homes, just on their front porch. And a letter would go out to seniors about a week ahead of time saying that their produce box was going to be delivered. You know, don't come outside, and just once the volunteer leaves, they can come and get it. Volunteers all wore masks. They all drove their own cars. So everything was still able to be following the social distance guidelines. And we were we were very successful. We just had one last week where we delivered boxes to produce boxes to 160 seniors. So that has been going really well. And we're going to look at what the winter months look like next.
For all of the wonderful information. Does anyone in the chat session have a question? And Natoya, you're on it. You're like answering everything over there. Thank you.
Ryan and Meredith, I don't know if you see the chat, but Bruce Missick made a great point when we start talking about food, about reading labels. And so I'm going to share that with Mary. We may think about a program or a newsletter or somehow in our food baskets to get out how to read those labels. And I said, speaking specifically of myself, but for others, really recognizing the sugar content, but more than anything, I hate to admit it, everybody. I can't believe I'm going to say it right here now, live in this program. I'm a carb junkie and I hate it. And so I am now trying to take active steps to control and manage my carb intake. But that's just my admission and my truth for today. We have to do it though, because though carbs contribute to cardiovascular, it contributes to high cholesterol, it contributes to diabetes, it contributes to all those health disparities. And we want to be healthy. I want to be healthy. And that's why I'm trying to learn how to read those labels myself. True admission.
Sounds like what you're doing is planning for your future and your longevity. So that's one of the things we're talking about when we talk about aging in place. It's also how you consume things that help you age in place in a healthy way. So that's awesome. Thank you very much for your presentations, ladies. It was very knowledgeable. And I'm looking at what Bruce is also saying in the chat. Thank you, Bruce. I would like to thank Natoya and Meredith for their presentation. Thank you all for being participants in the Senior Sustainability and Seniors It Never Gets Old presentation. Thank you to the Cleveland Public Library for allowing us to use Hop-In and for being a sponsor. Coming up next, I'm trying to see this. Coming up next is a number of presentations. I believe Brittany's going to put them all in the chat. And if you have any further questions, feel free to put them in the chat before we leave, because we do have a couple more minutes. I would also like to thank especially the Office of Sustainability for allowing us to come together in terms of the Sustainable Cleveland Summit. And that's all I got.
That's because it never gets old.